What's up, it's me. Yeah, I come to you tail between legs, hat in hand, and I just want to say, sorry for being a bit of an asshole over the course of the last few videos I posted, and then over the course of my absence. It's been a rough year for me. I went through some serious shit, like I was dealing with some severe chronic issues, really bad sinusitis that ended up being misdiagnosed as bronchitis, and so I was really suffering for a while, and I went back to self-medicating with IV cocaine and opioids off the street, which was a terrible thing. I've been clean for a while now, other than pot edibles, but around the time I made my second to last video, I think I was just, like, particularly in that video, I was feeling very vulnerable, and I was living in a very destabilized way. I had really no sense of self or direction or responsibility, and I felt like the world was kind of pitted against me, and I had really painted myself into this corner by my own hand. And like someone astutely said in the comments on that second last video, there's a sense of entitlement in that video, and it's because I was essentially projecting my insecurities about how I was feeling like I created this caricature of myself as a content creator, if you want to call me that, because I mean, my content's pretty low effort and, doesn't have many viewers or anything, but I felt like I became the drug guy, much like the psych substance dude or whatever. I was essentially just serving to justify doing drugs for people who wanted to, and my goal was more so harm reduction, so I was very frustrated with that kind of stereotype that was self-inflicted. Again, no one's fault but my own, and I also didn't know what people wanted from me. I felt like people wouldn't watch anything that I put out which was not related to drugs, which was, me discussing thought exercises or philosophy or film or whatever. I felt like people were only coming for one reason, and that, explains the insecurity a bit. I felt like, I didn't have anything good enough to offer other than that. And it's not like people were even flocking in droves for the drug videos. They were just watching that slightly more than other videos. I apologize for abandoning the channel for a long time, but there's so much going on in my life that was going wrong. Like, I lost a ton of weight from the bronchitis and, the drug abuse and stuff like that. Like, I was living really hard for a while, I've been paying dearly for that, but like I said, I've been able to stay clean for the last 4 months, and I gained a little bit of perspective in the process. I see now how a lot of these perceptions of isolation and being sequestered into the frame of this figure that I didn't want to be, that it's all self-inflicted. These are illusory characteristics that I solely perceived based on the lack of feedback. So I was basically inserting noise into the silence I was receiving, and I probably sounded very smug and like an asshole. I'll leave that video up just as a lesson to myself, and as a reminder that, I am far from fucking perfect, if that's not already fucking obvious. But I went through a rough patch of being prescribed fentanyl patches, and the fentanyl patches were awful. They were awful. They did nothing good for me. They weren't very effective. They may be effective for someone who's in a hospital 24 hours a day, but I've been through a job training program that's been fairly intensive over the last little while. I've done my forklift training, my boom lift, my scissor lift training, gotten all my certifications to work again, and it was very hard to do that. Sorry for that obnoxious sound. It's coming from the construction nearby. Apologies. It's music, eh? What even is the utility of that? But yeah, I want to start creating content again, and I don't care if no one watches it. I don't care if everyone watches it. I just want to talk to people and to put myself out there. And I want to say right now, I have no expectations of my audience. If you want to criticize me, if you want to say anything at all about me, that is your prerogative. I have no right to take that away from you. Why I can see why people wouldn't want to watch my videos if I'm just going to be perpetually combative with those who take the time to hear fucking little old me out. But yeah, I definitely won't be sliding back into doing psychedelics anytime soon. I think I just need to take a break from drugs that are harder than pot edibles right now. But I do actually, despite what I previously said, I do cherish you guys, and I really respect and appreciate how you'll take the time to hear me out, especially because I'm such a rambling, overtly ADD brained guy, and I'm kind of insufferable sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. I'll admit it right now. And for anyone take the time to watch the video and comment is, that's more than I would say I deserved, especially when I was lashing out of this kind of displaced sense of, subpar self-worth, self-perception. And I look forward to getting back in touch with you guys. I don't know if I'll do streaming or anything like that, but I'm certainly open to suggestions. And I gotta say, I do not retract anything I said in my Trump video. I've been watching what's been happening in the States. I'm not going to talk about it at length here, because I'm sure everyone, regardless of where you live, has heard about the issues in the States ad nauseum. And I don't want to have you come in and just batter you with, lectures about, my criticisms, and especially with a tone that has this air of, supreme certainty, and knowing that my critiques are so, based or whatever. They're not. My opinions change rapidly all the time, and I still think that what happened back then and what's continuing to happen is a slight to my country, and I think that it is contemptible, but I'm not going to make any more prescriptive takes on that anytime soon. If, as a U.S. citizen, you feel I do not deserve the protection of the States anymore, that's 100% fine. I think in all likelihood, there is way more plausibility in the states adversely impacting Canada. All these jokes about us being a 52nd state, and it seems like, if anything, as opposed to defending us, the states want to invade us and create a banana republic essentially out of Canada. And if you kind of reverse the roles, you'll see why that sort of thing is just, in my opinion, it's not indicative of a civilized first world country. But as a species, I think all countries are very flawed right now, and no one knows really what to do. But everyone wants to sound like they have the answer. I don't have the answer. I just am trying to figure something, to find something tangible in the cyclone of chaos that has been permeating the West over the last year. It's crazy watching the U.S. turn into like a post-Soviet bloc oligarchy, and I feel tremendous, deep sympathy for people in the States who wanted no part in this tech-backed tyranny that is essentially oppressing people within and without. When it comes to the States, people in the States, I'm sure, are suffering more than the countries impacted by the choices of the current administration. And so I don't want to make an enemy of people who, my brothers and sisters across the border, because, at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure none of you are in the White House making these decisions, and I no longer want to identify as, being on the political left or the political right. I think this diametrically opposed political system that is currently in existence is, and the culture war, all of that is a big grift. It is a means of keeping us perpetually at each other's throats, fighting with our fellow civilian, as opposed to seeing the real issue, which is that rich people are taking what little the working class and the middle class have, and it's beyond disgusting. And to butt heads with each other is exactly what they want, because at the end of the day, tech companies make money off of us fighting with each other. And I never really have bonded with any of the ideologies on any part of the political system, or the political spectrum, enough to say one way or another as to which one is the most valid and which one would benefit the world more than any other right now. So I'm hoping that by continuing to interact with y'all, we can transcend the bullshit, divisive, constant just rhetoric that drives us to be just toe-to-toe with each other all the time, battling in the war of ideas, the marketplace of ideas, I should say. I get it. The States is a big reason because of their massive military budget. Our military is beyond pathetic. It is beyond subpar. I get videos trying to recruit me to the military. That shows how fucking hard done by our military is, how desperate they are, and how pitiful it is. The military in the States is, is why people don't have health care, which sucks, but it's also a big reason why we're not getting invaded by like China or Russia, at least, overtly. But I no longer want to play this game of, this is X, Y, and Z. If you believe that and you say that and you get behind one idea or another, that's what you need to do. That is the onus upon you as a civilian, because it's a farce. It really is a farce. I mean, and as bad as things get, things have always been bad, and things will, there's like 5 genocides going on in the world right now. There's just been peace in the Middle East, which is like already falling apart, but 30 years ago the Palestinians were getting fucking hammered by the Israelis. 30 years ago Reaganomics was occurring. Just before that, Nixon was waging war against the American people, and more, I think, more likely than not, what will happen is nothing major will happen out of this administration or any other, except for a slow usurping of authority and standing from regular people. But nothing major will occur, because nothing ever does. But people, everyone, myself included, fall into these alarmist traps where we act like the sky is falling, because it's so hard to find meaning these days, and it's so easy to be within the wages of fear, and to be driven by fear, and to make decisions based on fear, even if they pit us against one another. And I think that's absolutely the wrong thing to do, and I am always open to any takes that may be contrary to everything I just said, if what I just said makes any sense whatsoever, or that agree, or that are skeptical, anything like that. I am interested in hearing, and I'm just gonna put videos out without trying to tick any boxes, or because I've never been a big creator. I get at most maybe 100 views in a month, and I'm lucky a comment. I am not a thought leader or anything like that. I'm just a person who is trying to make some sense of everything that is going on in my life and in my environment and beyond, and it is very hard to do so, whoever you are. And like I said, this channel, if anything, I want to be I want these to be videos that can be a substitute for hanging out with people and having discussions. If you're just chilling by yourself, doing some work or playing video games or whatever, and you want to hear someone rattle off their train of thought and explore some ideas, you put it on the background and you can almost kind of talk along with it, and certainly welcome to leave any comments, but that anyways is my attempt to try to take some accountability for being a jerk, and because I don't want to at all try to whitewash, just bleach my frankly rude and self-aggrandizing behavior. I will leave everything up that has honestly made me kind of cringe looking back at it in retrospect. So you can see that these are hard lessons I'm trying to take away, and that I am just like any human, constantly course correcting as I go along. But at the end of the day, I don't know anything. I'm just trying to figure things out. But if I know anything, I feel like I'm still this black-pilled pessimist who thinks that human beings are unfortunately cursed with the blight of having to live and having to sustain oneself and having to suffer in the process of doing so, while desperately trying to find meaning or trying to block out that which ails us. And I am open to being wrong about that. I haven't seen much of the world. I have many experiences left to live, and I know that I could very well be wrong, and it could be my narrow perspective based on my narrow environment and array of experiences that has closed me off in this kind of box, and I could be wrong, but I do believe that if nothing ever happens, or if the result of anything major, controversial, anything that has people talking about it, any issue whatsoever, if nothing results from it, then the worst of the worst will result from it. And that is why I am essentially a pessimist, and I believe that living is just not all it's cracked out to be, and attempts to say otherwise are essentially attempts to make light of all the issues which bring us pain. But at the same time, is death really the answer? I don't know. Death is a big mystery, but it is the polar opposite to life as far as I can tell, and it seems like it's oftentimes better to be dead than alive, but I can't say that with 100% certainty because I haven't put myself out there enough. I haven't gone out and experienced other parts of the world, made profound bonds that will transcend time and conflict and all these things. So I mean, I am very open to being proven wrong on that, and it actually is kind of frivolous that those pessimistic ideals are the closest thing to truth that I feel like I know. But I feel like, we evolved to have this, frontal lobe, an ability to view ourselves as independent from the whole, and that has caused us to splinter from the whole, and it has essentially turned us into a species capable of deriving whatever we need from the environment or from synthetics or what have you to survive and to feel comfort and some semblance of contentment in life. Like those things, those tools, the level of knowledge it takes to make those things happen, the intelligence behind it is being turned on one another, and I am saddened to see that, because that is, when you look at how we have consumed so much of life on this planet, can you imagine if that affinity, that ability, aptitude to devour everything around us is turned on one another? If that happens, it will not be pretty. And I, as I said, even though I think that the worst could potentially occur, and I think as a species we probably are not going to survive till the end of time, we all must die, since those things are inevitable, it almost seems like, oh well, why don't we just fucking pull the plug tomorrow? Why bother getting there? I think it's worth getting there just so we can say we did, just so we can know we did, but at the same time, it instills this sense of futility in the face of it. But it's like that scene in True Detective at the very end where they're looking at the stars, and Matthew McConaughey, the pessimist character, is talking about how his grandfather told him the story, the oldest story in time, the story of good versus evil, light versus dark, and then Woody Harrelson says, well, it seems like the darkness has much more territory. And then Matthew McConaughey's like, but there's light, which means the light's winning. So, I think we still have to shine regardless of, whether you're black-pilled or whatever, and whether our deepest insecurities come true. We need more than ever to communicate with one another, to find common ground, to be accepting of one another. If the trespass is grave, like someone, say, sexually assaults someone else, I think that person deserves to be stigmatized. They have lost their status in the herd, and I hope that I haven't lost you guys, but I'm not saying I sexually assaulted you guys, but I've kind of, spitting out everything you guys have invested in me over the course of my last few videos. I've spit it right out at you guys in the most curt, distasteful, disrespectful way, and I feel immensely ashamed for doing that, and that is, don't feel bad for me. That was my fault. And also, I'm glad that I can recognize that, and I can, try to take accountability and try to grow as a person. But yeah, anyways, I'm much more stable now. I feel like I've learned a lot over the last little while. I've got a lot to learn, obviously, but and I'm burdened with this hyper awareness that consciousness endows us with, and like these crazy mystics say that we're all connected, which physics will attest to, and chemistry will attest to. We're connected to each other through the same matter, through the same dead stars that create the hydrogen in our the very atoms within us. That's true, but when you look at the world around us, we are not connected as a species, and I don't think we can get anything done unless we do manage to connect. And it may be a futile aspiration to hope that we can work and stride together, and we can voice a variety of different takeaways based on our own empirical understandings, inferences from life. I think we are capable of doing that with this like I said, hyper aware intelligence that we have, that burns us but also gifts us with many amazing things. And if we die trying to work together, then I think that is something that is worth dying trying to achieve. Anyways, I just got out of detox, getting off the fentanyl patches, and I am coming back to life, and I'm no major figure, I'm no major player in any regard, but if you guys will have me again, and even if it's 10 of you, if it's 2 of you, if it's 10,000 of you, I am happy to be that bro that can be there with you and that can, respond to you. And, if you ever are struggling yourself and you just need to be heard, leave a comment. I will do my best to get back to you. I try to respond to all my comments, and promptly as well. I just wanted to give you a little, show you the bites I've taken out of the humble pie that I have realized has been in front of me this whole time, and I've been doing anything, throwing tantrums like a toddler, anything not to take a bite of and fucking actually eat and taste and feel. And anyways, I'm gonna wrap it up there, but I just want to say I love you all. regardless of whether you hate me or whether you still think I'm a fucking cool dude or whatever. Even though I struggle with my hope for humanity, I want to say that honestly, this channel has given me more hope for humanity than it has hurt me, and that is a big reason why I regret and recant what I've said over the last few videos, and I want to apologize for the just absence of anything, any word, any updates this whole time I've been gone, because I'm glad I didn't broadcast the side of myself that was going through such a hard time. I mean, I did release that video where I talk about Succession, and I'm surprised about how coherent that came out of, because I was in really rough shape doing really hard drugs when I did that. But I will leave that up because I think that's an important reminder of what could be as well. And I also think I did a decent job of making an accolade to what I think is a pretty insightful, impressive, and introspective, or a show that has made me introspective and more aware of sort of the dynamics of power and various systems in the world, and conceits and deceits that are out there. Conceits, why did I say conceits? No, the deceptions that are out there that keep us at war with each other because of culture, because of transgenderism, because of politics, because of things that ultimately don't matter that much, and that essentially are waging a war on individuality. Individuals need to be able to be themselves without hurting or infringing on anyone else's personal space, property, etc. It helps to also be respectful of one another. No one has to be, but I think it helps. And I want to try to do that now. So, anyways, thanks for staying tuned, and I look forward to hearing any feedback. I appreciate it. Thanks.